All right, hello 7th grade. We are going to start our next packet for our biology unit. So this packet is about natural selection. So we're going to be learning about these theories and how scientists believe that different species change over time. So this first page is just the cover page, so there's nothing to do on there. These are the standards we're going to be talking about. So developing evidence-based explanations for how genetic information is passed, using indirect observations, evidence, and data to support claims about genetic reproduction and traits, and we're going to gather, analyze, and interpret data on the transmitting of genetic information. So I find genetics extremely interesting, so I hope you do too. All right, so this glossary page is going to be very helpful, so I would make sure that you're referring back to it. So adaptation, evolution, genetic drift, gene flow, alleles, sexual selection, natural selection, artificial selection, comparative anatomy, homologous structures, fossil evidence, DNA evidence, and embryology. So all of those are different terms that we're going to be using in this unit. A lot of them are probably new, so please make sure that you are referring back to this as needed to help you understand any of these terms. Okay, so we're going to start with animal adaptation. So animal adaptation is how animals change to fit their environment. So there are billions of organisms on the planet. Many of the organisms have adaptations. A characteristic that helps an organism survive and reproduce in its environment is called an adaptation. Adaptations can occur through genetic mutations. So we actually talked about adapting in social studies last year. So we talked about how humans adapt to their environment, meaning how we change or how we act, or things that we do in order to survive in our environment. So animals do the same thing. So when they have a characteristic that helps them survive, so for example, an animal that lives in a cold environment having a thick fur coat, for example, that helps them survive there, or having sharp claws or teeth to help catch prey, things like that that help them survive in their environment are adaptations. So adaptations can occur through genetic mutations. So it's not mutant so much like Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles, but a mutation is any time that there is a mistake when genes are getting copied, and sometimes those mistakes end up actually working out to help an organism. So it's not like you fall in a vat of toxic waste and you're a mutant. It's when genetic information is getting passed from a parent to its offspring when there's a mistake in the copying of that information. And that causes some sort of change in their features. All right, part 2, evolution. Evolution is the process in which inherited characteristics within a population change over generations to the point that a new species may arise. So 1, genetic drift is a change in allele frequencies due to chance, and genetic drift causes a loss of genetic similarities. Gene flow is the movement of alleles between populations. Gene flow occurs when individuals form new populations and reproduce, and gene flow keeps neighboring populations different. Alleles produce the genetic variation needed for evolution. Sexual selection selects for traits that improve mating success, and natural selection selects for traits advantageous for survival. So basically what all that is saying is that over time, we talked about those mutations, so that means that there's some slight change in the way that information is copied from a parent to their offspring. So over time, those small changes can add up and cause a population to shift. An allele is basically the information that's passed through genetics. We will be talking more about that as we go through this unit, but make sure that you get those notes down and we can, in class, go through more of what each of those terms means in context. All right, natural selection. There are 3 conditions necessary for natural selection to occur. There must be variations in characteristics. Different individuals in the population must have different traits. There must be a difference in fitness. The different traits must help individuals survive and reproduce. The trait that affects the fitness must be inheritable, and the trait must be able to be passed by genes from one generation to the next. Thus, natural selection is defined as survival of the fittest. In nature, populations adapt, expected in all populations most of the time, and it can be a response to changing environments. So, basically, if, for example, one common example of this is finches that were studied by Charles Darwin. So they had different shaped beaks. So one shape of the beak was better fit for eating bugs, and another was better fit for eating seeds. So based on the availability of bugs and seeds, that affected which groups survived and which survived long enough to create more birds. And then the traits that survived were the ones that got passed on to the next generation of birds, and so on. So changes in the environment might help drive natural selection and which traits survive and which traits are better for living longer and reproducing more, and which traits die out because they're harmful. So that is where we will stop for now. So make sure you fill in those notes. Feel free to rewatch the video if you need. And I will see you later.